What's up guys, ArchAngel Manga here, and today's series view is going to be Chobits by Clamp. This is, I guess you can say, officially the first Clamp series I've watched. I used to watch Cardcaptor Sakura when I was a kid, but that's when I was a kid, you know. I don't really remember much about it. So yeah, Chobits. It's basically a romantic slice of life, sci-fi, I guess you could say. Did I say comedy? Romantic comedy, slice of life, sci-fi, yeah. Basically set in like the near future. It's not really the near future because, well, it is the near future, but the only way you can really tell that it's the near future is that society is kind of changed or advanced a little bit more, technologically. So basically, Chobits is about a country boy called Hideki Motosuwa, who moves down to, I think, Tokyo from Hokkaido. He's just like a, you know, country boy, farm boy, and he goes down to Tokyo to study. Doesn't get into university because he just, you know, his grades are terrible, so he has to become a ronin. I think that's what you call like a, you know, like a masterless samurai. You know, that's like the slang term for it. So yeah, he basically joins a prep school, you know, to like basically, you know, up his grade so he can get into university. And as soon as, well, basically when he gets to Tokyo, he notices that like, you know, quite a large number of the population there own these mobile computers called persicons, and persicons are basically just like androids, human-shaped computers. You can get male ones, female ones, little miniature chibi-esque ones, little keychain persicons, and they all function in various and different ways. You know, have newer models, older models, you know, they all come in different shapes and sizes basically, but they're very human-like, they function like humans, they perform tasks like humans, they can interact with other people like humans, and the only way you can tell them apart from other humans is that, you know, they have these like ear-like sort of appendages on the side of their heads. But they're not really like ears, they're more like little connectors that you can connect them to like monitors and TVs and things like that. And they can just perform tasks like, you know, internet searches, or, you know, go on errands, or, you know, do their master's shoppings or anything like that. Because they can't function independently. They need to serve like a human master. So, you know, Hideki is, you know, completely fascinated by this. You know, he instantly wants one because, you know, he thinks, oh, this is so cool. And, you know, the majority of the persicons that he's seen like really, you know, like really cute females. So he's like, you know, he's got this like nosebleed moment, like, oh my god, these persicons are so hot. You know, he stumbles across a shop that sells them and realizes how expensive they are, and because he's on a limited budget, you know, he's just a poor country boy. You know, it's like, ah, crap, I can't buy a persicon. So yeah, basically, he gets home. He's like moved into like a little apartment block that's run by like a female manager. You know, meets her, we get to like a little bit of interaction with her. Her name, escapes me. Hibiya, I think her name was Hibiya or Hibi something. But yeah, yeah, like a female manager has like another sort of nosebleed moment, like, oh my god, another pretty lady. You know, gets to his room, meets his next door neighbour, Shinbo, who is studying at the same prep school that he's studying at. And Shinbo has like a little chibi persicon called Sumomo. And he's kind of like the first sort of port of call to go to, you know, for any sort of, you know, little troubles or anything like that Hideki has. But anyway, I think it's on his way home from prep school, and he notices a discarded persicon like in a trap heap, sort of wrapped up, and he's unconscious. So, you know, he's thanking his lucky stars, takes it home, and he's like, oh my god, I found a persicon, you know, what luck. And you know, he has like another sort of nosebleed, oh my god, blush moment, because it's like a female persicon, she's really cute. And he's trying to figure out how to turn her on because he's just not tech savvy, or like he does not know how to use computers. You know, he's just a farm boy. He doesn't know anything about technology. So he eventually sort of, you know, he checks off all the, you know, kind of places where there might be a switch, and discovers that the switch to turn her on is between her legs. Lord knows why she was written that way, but whatever. I'll get more into the sort of fan servicey area of the series, you know, later on in this review. Turns her on, and yeah, she just powers up, but the only word she can say is cheat. It seems that her CPU is missing, so, you know, like whereas other persicons have kind of have like learning programs or software installed so that just like ready to sort of function. Chi, which is the only word she can say on what Hideki decides to name her, literally cannot do anything for herself. So the first half of the series is basically Hideki sort of teaching her like new words and phrases, and there's a lot more comedy in like the first half of the series because Hideki literally has to teach her like the basics like of speech, like like a baby. She's literally just like a child. He even has to teach her a name like, oh, I'm Hideki, and because he's pointing towards himself and saying Hideki, she assumes that pointing like means Hideki, so she's like Hideki, Hideki, Hideki. So there are some really quite funny moments in the series that kind of give me a few chuckles. There's also an episode where she goes looking for underwear because he has to obviously provide for her, with clothing and things like that. But because he's too embarrassed and kind of frigid around women, like he sends her out on like her first errand to go buy underwear, accompanied by Samomo, which is Shimbo's persicon. Anyway, I'm going into too much detail. So yeah, the first half of the series is basically kind of episodic. Like you've got episodes with like the the underwear errand, Hideki looking for part-time work. He ends up getting a part-time job in like a local bar where he meets like a girl called Yumi. So yeah, there's a beach episode, things like that, and it's basically the first half of the series is kind of, it doesn't really progress much story-wise. I think it's just kind of like build up for the characters. We get to meet like new people. Like we get to meet Yumi, who is Hideki's colleague in the Japanese bar. We get to meet Kokubunji, who is like a sort of local like child billionaire who like specializes in like persicon building and like owns like his own persicons. And like he's kind of like the go-to guy when Hideki has problems with Chi or troubleshooting, like when he doesn't know how to do something. And it's with Kokubunji where we find out that Chi is like a super advanced persicon, and like the type of persicon that she is, it's rumored, but like unconfirmed, that she's from a special line of purpose-built persicons called Chobits, which are different from regular persicons because they can function independently and have their own sort of will and emotions. But because obviously Chi is missing her CPU, she's just like a regular persicon. So yeah, Kokubunji, Chi ends up getting her own part-time job because Hideki's so low on money all the time. She wants to help Hideki, and that's the kind of sweet thing about Chi. She just if there's one thing that she learns, it's like her attachment to Hideki. This is something that's like kind of progressing and like expanded upon in the series. Like she just has this instant attachment to Hideki, almost like a like a chick out of the egg sees its mother, that kind of thing. But she's completely reliant on Hideki, but at the same time she wants to make Hideki happy all the time, and that's kind of what makes the character really cute. And what kind of like set her apart from like other characters, in other anime that are kind of similar to her, because instantly when I saw Chi, she instantly reminded me of Lucy from Elfen Lied. Now I know they're completely contrasting series, but if you think about it, like Chi is a very childlike character who has lost her memory and can only say one word at first, which is Chi. Then you've got Lucy from Elfen Lied, who has also lost her memory and becomes very is reduced to a childlike state. And gets like a dual personality, can only say the word new, which becomes her name, New. So that instant parallel, like right there, kind of like almost put me off Chi, because I just instantly sort of compared it to New from Elfen Lied, which is a series I really didn't like. But the more sort of Chi and Hideki grow together, like I instantly kind of grew to like Chi because she's really cute and adorable. And like watching her learn, kind of you get to sort of watch her character kind of progress along with Hideki, because Hideki has to like teach her and like kind of assumes a role of responsibility. He isn't even really responsible for it himself, but then he has to kind of take on a secondary responsibility for Chi, so we kind of get to see him mature slightly a little bit. But one thing I kind of dislike about their relationship between it is like the sort of pervy comedic relief, like like anytime Chi kind of goes to hug Hideki and like her breasts rub up against him, Hideki gets all kind of frigid and things like that, or if she kind of undresses or something like that, because obviously she doesn't really know what she's doing, she doesn't really have total human emotions, and that kind of human awareness, like embarrassment or anything like that. So she'll like get undressed or something and like Hideki like kind of freak out. You know, those moments I wasn't too fond of because that isn't just really my kind of humour. It just seems kind of immature. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of like the first half of the series. You know, it's kind of episodic. The second half of the series kind of, you know, we get more progression with the characters that we've met from the first half of the series. You know, we get more character building. You know, with like Kokobunji, his sort of personal persicom is like a remodeling of his dead sister. So we get to more about his history. We get to know about the manager of the cake shop where Chi works, and kind of his sort of relationship with like persicoms. We get a really good sad backstory with him. Get to know more about Chi herself and like the role that she plays, in the society that they live in, and the kind of what her original functions are as a persicom. So yeah, the second half was much more enjoyable for me because the first sort of half of the series I was kind of thinking to myself, when is this actually going to kick in? When is this going to get good? And it was just kind of like unprogressive. But then as soon as I think episode 15 or something like that, like halfway through the series kind of kicked in, it just kind of skyrocketed up. And my enjoyment level sort of increased for it because I just constantly wanted to know what happened next. And that's really the kind of magic of the series. It kind of remains sort of stagnant, and then you just kind of hits it that it just gets good. And that hasn't really happened to me before with an anime. Like usually when I watch an anime, it'll start off good and then it'll kind of dip towards like an anticlimactic ending. So this is kind of the first sort of anime that I've watched where I've really enjoyed the ending, even though I've heard that the manga for this is better, and that the whole manga itself is more story driven and character driven instead of just like the last half of it being character driven. But yeah, it's really well written. Obviously, this is a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to reveal or anything about sort of Chi's role in the world of persicoms. But yeah, there's some really good character building in this. The comedy is kind of hit and miss. Taking into account that this is kind of an older anime, I think it was produced by Madhouse in 2002, whereas the manga was released I think in like 2000 or something like that. So it's quite a dated anime. That kind of took me back. Took me by surprise when I first watched this because I assumed it was an anime from maybe about 2007, 2008. So the animation style is kind of like not necessarily substandard, but like outdated. Like this anime, not only in animation style, but also in like the design of like the technology that's in the anime. It's kind of like it hasn't really withstood the passage of time very well because the animation seems very dated and kind of like just average at best, and they don't even have flat screen TVs. They have these super advanced humanoid computers, but yet they still have like TVs with like input jacks and SCART leads and things like that, which kind of make it seem like quite old fashioned and not with the time. So this isn't necessarily an anime that's withstood the passage of time in terms of like the technology that it kind of represents, but story wise it's kind of timeless in that respect. But yeah, Madhouse did a good job with it. You can kind of tell that they've evenly stretched out the budget. There's a few action scenes towards the end, like in the second half, where you can see they've put a little bit more effort into the animation and things like that. But it obviously isn't an action series, so you're not really going into it for that. It's more of like a just a slice of life, sci-fi comedy romance. I'm kind of new to that genre. But yeah. If I had to give it a rating, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. I personally, it didn't greatly, reach my expectations because I've heard so much about Chobits over the years, and because it's by, the massive, collaborative, well not massive, but I think it's like 4 or 5 women who are in the collaborative group, Clamp, because it was by them, and I've heard so much great things about them. I thought Chobits was going to be like just exceptionally good, but it was just good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. It was just kind of like plain vanilla. It was just, its rewatchability is questionable for me, but I don't think I'll be watching it for a while. But it's still something I'm proud of to have on my shelf. I guess that's really all I have to say about it. Hit and miss comedy. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. Dated animation, but good nonetheless. Interesting characters, even though there are some that kind of annoying, like Hideki has like his annoying moments when he's being frigid, or Sumomo, the ever excitable little miniature robot that's owned by Shinbo. The kind of the fan service isn't necessarily over the top. There's no over the top fan service like just crotch shots or like boobage everywhere. There's nothing like that, but there are, you know, a lot of like sort of, you know, pervy sort of moments, which I wasn't really fond of. But yeah, it was a good anime. I'm kind of rambling a bit now, I guess. Yeah, just tell me what you guys think. You know, tell me if there's any climate series that, you know, you feel like better than this that I should check out. You know, tell me your thoughts in the comments section below as usual. Give it a like, comment, you know, subscribe if you're new to my channel or anything like that. So yeah, that's been Chobits, produced by Madhouse, 2002. Yeah, it was a good little series. Comes with some pretty cool extras. There's actually sort of an epilogue episode called Chobits and a few recap episodes. I wish they'd put them in the actual episode selection rather than just putting them in the extras, because I watched all of them last after I'd finished the season. But yeah, that's my only real complaint and sort of gripe for the series. Yeah, that's it. ArchAngel Manga, signing out.